In many cases, if you're backing out of the deal and the seller is actually taking more loss out of it, they can actually sue you as well.
Do you want to disclose your income?
Hello everyone, this is Mandeep Basra. I'm a real estate broker based in Ottawa, Canada. People know me for my dedication and honesty towards my profession. I believe in knowledge sharing, and that's why I'm here today to do the Truth Box session where I'm going to answer all the questions in this box. If appraisal comes back lower than my offer, what happens next? It's a very tricky situation if the appraisal comes back to be on the lower side. So the first thing is people normally try to go to the bank and try a different appraisal, like a second opinion. If it still comes out to be lower, it means definitely somebody has put a higher number which should not have been put. So they should go back to the seller and try to negotiate the price. Many cases, seller will probably not agree and maybe the deal will be cancelled, but that's something that should be tried. If not, you can always cancel the deal and hopefully you are in the conditional period. That way you can at least get the deposit back. What are the material listed defects legally that should be disclosed in Ontario? We call them latent defects. Latent defects means something that is an ongoing issue, but it has been hidden. For example, there could be mold that is known to the sellers, but they're trying to hide by putting some furniture in front of it. These kind of issues are mandatory. They should be told. In every city or many provinces have their own rules. It can vary, but in Ontario, at least the latent defects, they have to be disclosed. All right. Can I buy and sell my home at the same time, and how does that work? Well, definitely, it's the homeowner's choice how to do that. It can be done. Only thing is they have to plan well because they have to see how the market is behaving. Is it taking more time to sell the house? It could be, because of the buyer's market, or it could be the other way around. So whichever happens first, normally you try that first. So that way you know that the other thing is going to just fall in line.
Okay, in cases where the both dates doesn't match, right? Then what happened next?
Well, there's things such as mortgage. I'm hoping that if somebody is trying to sell and buy the house at the same time, they're porting the mortgage. And most banks will allow 90 days of period where both things can be done. So that can be explored. What can trigger losing my deposit if I backed out of a signed offer? Well, first thing, as I mentioned in the previous question as well, that if it's conditional offer, you are at least safe. You have that conditional period, usually which is 5 business days, where you can cancel the deal. And if you are not in the conditional period, which means that you have completed that conditional period and you're canceling the deal after that, or you never had the conditions in your offer, in that case, you will be losing the deposit for sure. And it's not just that. In many cases, if you're backing out of the deal and the seller is actually taking more loss out of it, they can actually sue you as well. So there could be a lawsuit after that.
Is there any way you can save the deposit?
You can. That's why you should have a conditional period. And if you are doubtful of certain scenario, try to get the longer conditional period. That can help. How is my home's value determined? It's based on CMA or appraisal or online estimate. Well, online estimate definitely is not enough because online estimate could be using some algorithms which are never too accurate. And house being such a big asset, though definitely we need much more details. So best thing is to do CMA. CMA means comparative market analysis. All the realtors have access to the database in whichever city they are working on. So they can get all the details of these other sold properties in the area. They can compare that to your house. So that apple to apple comparison will give you a more precise number for your house. So that should be the best medium to evaluate the value of your house as of today. What first-time buyer incentives or rebates could actually help me in Ontario? First-time buyers, first of all, they are eligible for rebates from government. For example, if you're buying a pre-construction house in Ontario, in that you get 24,000 rebate on the HST side. And also now we have a new program as well, with which you can get up to $50,000 of rebate if you're a first-time buyer in Ontario. And with the banks as well, if you're a first-time buyer and buying your primary house, you will get the option of buying the house with lesser down payment. You don't have to pay 20%. And that's also, I would say, it's a rebate kind of. And also you get better interest rate as well when you're paying less than 20%.
Can you define who is the first-time buyer?
First-time buyer, it has many definitions actually. First definition is basically you are the first-time buyer in Canada, right? So these things that I mentioned about, this is for the first time buyers in Canada. All the rebates are available. And then there's another rebate that's in Ontario that's called land transfer tax. So that's for first time buyer, but that definition means that you are first time buyer anywhere in the world. So you have never owned property in any other country, then you're eligible for this one. Are condo fee predictable, and what hidden costs should buyers watch out for? Well, condo fees are predictable to some extent because you can see how they have been increasing in the last few years, but you can never do the precise numbers because every year the condo corporation will meet, they will see their finances, they'll see what kind of expenses are coming up and what kind of unexpected expenses have come up in the last year. So, based on that, you can maybe make a guess, but it's never very accurate. So you have to do the full review of the financial report from the last year, and you can try to make an estimate, but that's the max you can do. Do realtors always work in the best interest of the buyer? Well, I would say they should. Right? That's what they are being hired for, whether they're working for buyer or seller. Uh, Anybody trying to buy the house, they're putting a lot of money in that house. They're putting their life savings to buy that house. So definitely, the ethical duty is to work for your client's interests. So that should be the way. But of course, you get bad apples in any profession, and many are in the real estate field as well.
But your experience is like in general in the market, most of the realtor, how do they behave?
Most of the realtors, they do behave in the right way, but when sometimes we have seen that the market is tight, when the economy is not doing the best, just like today as well, then you'll see people trying to do crazy stuff here and there to make more money. And that's where buyers and sellers, they need to be mindful. And that's why we're doing these kind of sessions, so that you as a buyer or seller know that what to ask and what to expect. Can I skip the home inspection if the house looks good? Yes, definitely. It's like, can I go to Europe without the visa? You can do that, no problem. But do you want to do that? Maybe not. So, home inspection is for you. If you're a buyer, it's for your benefit. So, that's your right. And, if you didn't know until then, until right now, you should be doing home inspection. If you ever feel that, you know the market very well, you know this house inside out, then you're feeling very confident, you have the option, but it's not something that should be advised. Is the highest offer always the best offer for a seller? So I'm assuming this question is for the scenario where we have multiple offers on the table and seller is trying to pick one. Well, in most cases, yes, the seller will go for the highest number, but other things can play as well. For example, maybe the seller has a situation where they want a certain closing date. And if the best offer has a date which is totally far away from what the seller wants, maybe they can go to the second best one as well, second best in terms of the number. So many factors play here. It could be price, could be closing date, it could be conditions in the offer. And based on that, the sellers will feel that this is the best offer for them. It could be not the price.
If date is not a restriction or any other factor as well, is there any specific thing? I heard that few people write a letter to the owner as well while putting the offer. Is it true?
Well, see, if let's say there's a property that's $1 million and the price difference between first offer and second offer is $1,000, $2,000, this can make a difference. But if the difference is 50,000, I don't think that emotional letter will make that much of a difference. Okay. Can a realtor represent both the buyer and seller fairly? So let's divide this question in two parts. Yes, this realtor can represent both the buyer and seller. Fairly, that's where the tricky part comes. Legally they are allowed, but and they'll ask both the parties, both the buyer and seller, to sign certain agreement, which is called multiple representation agreement. But fairly is tricky because it's never advised to represent both the parties. But if it happens to be in that scenario, they have to really make sure that both the buyers and seller, they're feeling that the person was working for my interest. But many cases I've seen, it leads to lawsuits as well because the sellers feel that the buyer got to know about my lowest price, or the buyers felt that the number that what the max number they can go to was already disclosed to seller. So if I'm not saying the realtor had bad intention, but sometimes slip of tongue or your gestures can reveal a lot of things which you don't want. So that's why best thing is to not represent both the parties. But if the situation comes out to be that, then realtors have to be very, very careful that they don't cross the line.
So what do you prefer personally?
I don't prefer personally to represent both the parties. Many times when the people come and say that, can you represent me as well? I have to give them disclosure, and that's my duty as well. And now in Ontario, we have another option as well, which is called self-represented party, which means I am representing seller, and a buyer comes to me saying that, I am willing to put an offer on this property, and I don't have any realtor, and I don't need one. So I tell them, okay, you know what? You can frame your own offer, which means you can hire a lawyer who's going to represent you later anyway for the house closing, and ask them to prepare offer with some certain clauses for you and submit the offer. But don't expect me to add or remove any clauses, because I'm not working for your interest at all, and you are signing certain document that says you are self-represented party. Is renting always cheaper than buying in Ontario? Well, this is a very generic question, but I don't think that we have any generic answer. It depends. For example, right now in GTA, or I would say Toronto downtown, there's so many condos that are available for sale or for rent. And what I'm hearing from the market, from my realtor friends in Toronto, they are saying that it's cheaper to rent over there because there's so many vacant properties they are able to buy, and you don't know where the market is going. So many people are actually renting just to be on the safe side. But if you are looking for a bigger property, for example, talking about Ottawa, where the market has not impacted so much, then it's still a good idea to buy. It depends on many scenarios, but it varies from price range and different cities. Okay. Do I need a realtor when buying directly from a builder? You don't. Just like in the resale market as well, as I answered in one of the previous questions, that you don't need a realtor. You can be self-represented. You can be representing yourself in the builder deal as well. But is it something that I would advise? Yes, you should have a realtor. Not that I'm a realtor. You could be working 5-6 hours away from me and you're not even able to hire me. But I think you should have a realtor, because the builders representatives, they're representing the builders. They're working for their interest. So you might feel that they are helping you, but they are just preparing the documents and sending stuff to you. They will not advise you, you do this, or even negotiate the price or certain clauses with you, right? Because they are paid by the builder, right? Now, if you have a realtor, even though they are compensated by the builder, but they are working for your interest because they have signed certain agreement with you. So that's why it's definitely advised that you should have a realtor, but you don't need one legally. Is buying a new construction home more expensive than a resale home in the long run? Not in the long run. Short run, maybe, because you might be spending more money on the house. For example, you don't get fence or the gutters. In many cases, you don't get the kitchen or laundry appliances. You don't get the window coverings. So these kind of things are kind of initial expense you have to do in most pre-construction homes, unless builder is providing some of them. So initially, they will seem to be expensive, but in the long run, whether they are expensive or not, it doesn't depend on the pre-construction or the resale property. It depends how the overall neighborhood is growing. If the neighborhood is doing well, the house could be 50 years old and still grow. And if the neighborhood is having some negative points, could be flooding issues, it could be noise problem or other things like that, then even the pre-construction home, which is almost new, will not grow so much. So it depends a lot on the neighborhood, actually, not just the age of the house.
So the buying price for a new construction home is always higher than the resale one?
Not always. It's actually a demand and supply game. So if the builder has a lot of homes to sell and they're not able to meet the targets, they will bring the price down. So in that case, you will be able to get the house price, which is lower than the resale value. But when the market is on the other side, then the resale could be a better option. So it varies a lot, market to market, and the city you're working in. Okay. So what is the biggest myth people believe about a realtor's income? They feel that we step out of the door, I wear my shoes and I bend down and there's a $100 bill lying there, and I sit in my car, before I put my seatbelt on, oh, there's $100 again. It doesn't work
So
like that.
isn't it true?
I don't think so, unless I forgot my $100 bill last time, but that's a different story. But so the myth is that it's easy money, right? I don't think it's easy money. At same time, it is a rewarding profession, no doubt. If you are true to a profession and you are making sure that your word of mouth that is spreading in the market is positive, then definitely it's good money. People like myself, I have left my previous job in the IT industry to be in the real estate because, of course, you like this field. At the same time, you see that this is a rewarding profession. But it doesn't mean that anybody coming to this profession is doing that, because I'm sure a lot of you have seen the stats. So GTA has more than 70,000 realtors. Ottawa has more than 4,600 realtors. And not everybody is, minting money, if that's what people think. So yeah, this is the answer.
Do you want to disclose your income?
Yeah, in the next video.